A new legendary hero, a minor rework, and one of the biggest blog posts that we've ever seen. 3.1 is shaping up to be quite the patch, but let's dive in and find out exactly what's new. As I said, these patch notes are incredibly chunky. I mean, just look at them all on screen. That's pretty hilarious. And we're not going to break down every single thing here. Instead, we're going to give you a gist of what you can expect in the 3.1 patch. First up, we have a new legendary hero coming, and that is just about all the info we have right now. There'll be more info coming in the Skulls event, so subscribe if you want to see exactly who it is and exactly what you can do, because that'll be coming live a little bit later on in Skulls. The Will of Shut is the new endgame crisis centered around the Chaos Dwarves, where they're going to expand their empire across the entire map in an effort to fuel their industrial machine with labour and resources. We get new regiments of renown for each of the starting Warhammer 3 factions, apart from Chaos Undivided, but I'm pretty sure, can they even get the 4 Monogod faction regiments of renown? I can't remember. But anyway, everyone apart from them is getting a new one. So we have the Bandits of the Silver Road for Cathay, the Hounds of the Blood Hunt for Khorne, the Watchmen in the Night for Kislev, the Frolickers Bubonic for Nurgle, the Princes of Perfection for Slaanesh, the Chromatic Abominations for Tzeentch, and the Boglars of the Mad Marshes for the Ogre Kingdoms. As I mentioned, Bretonnia are getting a minor update, and I hesitate to call this a rework since it really isn't anything that substantial. It's instead kind of just bringing them in line in their terminology with how most Warhammer 3 factions work. They're getting quite a large number of these minor changes, like troughs are now available for damsels, so they can, do some quest lines to get some nice bonuses, just like the paladins can. The Blessing of the Lady is changing over from physical resistance to ward save, since physical resistance in Warhammer 3 is way weaker than it used to be, since the abundance of magical damage is incredibly high. And they're also changing the classifications between knight units and peasant units. The capacity systems aren't really changing that much, but how they interact with each other is. Basically, all peasant units are no longer expendable and instead have this peasant stat, which essentially means when a knight unit sees them rout, it doesn't give them any negative impact. So to knight units, they are still expendable, but I believe to other peasant units, they won't be. I'm not exactly sure, the wording here isn't too clear on that. This sounds like kind of a big nerf if that's the case, but we'll have to wait and see when the patch actually lands, how that pans out. Sometimes these patch notes are a little bit rocky with how they explain things. Peasant units, however, now also receive leadership bonuses when fighting alongside knight units. This is very similar to how the Chaos Dwarf and Hobgoblin units interact with each other, where the Chaos Dwarfs aren't bothered if the Hobgoblins die or root, but when the Hobgoblins are fighting near to the Chaos Dwarves, they get massive leadership buffs. And then the rest of this blog post is all about optimizations and general rebalancing. There is a massive number of performance issues that they've addressed, as well as an insane number of changes to AI, game optimization, and tooltips. The mass tooltip in particular has seen a lot of work and should now be a lot more accurate. Instead of showing the mass of every single entity in the unit, it should now just be the mass of a single entity within that unit to give you a better idea of how each individual entity will make an impact when they hit the scene. After this, there are thousands of changes to rebalance pretty much every single faction in the game. There's unit changes, there's mechanic changes, there's changes across the board. But instead of reading those lines, I would prefer to read the lines. That is to say, I would prefer to not read any of it, because if I did, this video would probably be about 17 hours long. Look at that bad boy. But the main takeaway from this patch that I see is that CA are still working hard on the game between patches, and it's not just trying to farm money from us. I mean, they are trying to do that a little bit, but it's a company. I'm aware that I'm being farmed by every single company in the world whenever I do anything, but at least they're not being too scummy about it. We've got more DLC on the horizon this year, and it's nice to know that in between those DLC content releases, we're also going to have patches, so, if they completely break the game with one DLC, you're not waiting another upwards of 6 months for them to fix their mistakes. If these patches keep coming like this, and between every DLC, we should be in for a pretty steady update cycle, as well as a nice release cycle. And that is honestly just about all we have for today. Once we know more about that legendary hero, as I said, we will be covering it on this channel, so subscribe, you don't want to miss it. And if you're still hungry for more Warhammer 3 news, then check out this video here on the roadmap of Warhammer 3.